What up, everybody? 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner in the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Not a new customer? You can still feel the conference championship thrills with a stepped up same-game parlay. Take your shot at an even bigger NFL payout and boost your winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. And you guys know I'm going to be going with Joe Burrow. He just took down Josh Allen and the Bills. So I'm going to see if he can ride that momentum wave into the next round and take him to the Super Bowl. I've been talking about this all year. So if you guys have been with me, I appreciate you first and foremost. But I'm going to be betting on Joey B. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code UPANDIN. New customers can bet $5 on the conference championship games and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code UPANDIN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Up and In Show. This is Anthony Renato sitting on the purple couch. Unfortunately, I'm a little by myself tonight. Not a little, fully by myself. I did have a guest for today, but there were some logistical things that fell through. And since this podcast episode is being sponsored by DraftKings, I thought it would be really cool to talk a little bit about some betting stuff that I've been doing, some things that just came to mind last night. I was watching the LSU women's basketball game last night, and I was just out of curiosity, just curious to see what they were as favorites to win the national championship. I would imagine they were, like I was thinking at number 1 in the country, 17 or 18 or no, whatever it is that they are this year, that they were going to be, like plus 220, like, one of the main favorites. And they were like number 4 or 5 on the list at plus 1,000, which means that you could bet $100 and win $1,000 right now. And so I thought that was pretty wild as an undefeated team, being who they are. Kim Mulkey, some of the players that they have. My girl Angel Reese, she's a badass. And that was another thing. I wanted to see if I could parlay her to win the National Player of the Year and LSU to win and just see what those odds were, because I think, it's fun to throw like $25-50 on something with crazy high odds like that. But it's not out of the question. They're the best team in the country right now, in my opinion, and Angel Reese is just absolutely dominating. And I really locked in on watching her play last night. And she is getting boards and bringing the ball up the court, and she's got ball handling skills that I hadn't seen from a 6'3" big like that. And she obviously dominates the paint. She gets a ton of boards, and just watching her, I was a big man in college, in high school myself, and I played up in New Jersey, so we had good basketball there, and I could have played, maybe I probably would have been a D2 basketball player. But anyway, I appreciated how much she dominated the paint last night, just watching her positioning. The way she gets rebounds, she knows where the ball's going to bounce, and she sets herself up accordingly. And I think she's just got super high basketball IQ. So I really like her to win the National Player of the Year just because I think she's so dominant. But then I even like her to be the number 1 overall pick next year. I don't know what the draft class depth looks like, but I even wanted to parlay that. So I think I'm going to drive over to LaBerge today. My real degenerate self is going to go in there and see if I can make a little parlay on all 3 of those things. But it got my mind going because I thought this would be a really cool episode to kind of share with you guys. I sports gamble every night, whether that's $5 or sometimes I gamble up to $500, something like that, if I like something. I really want to talk about this really cool challenge that I did the last 5, 6, actually 10 days, something like that. I followed a TikTok influencer, Call Your Shot. This dude is absolutely awesome. He puts in picks every day. And we started with $10, and we just doubled our bet every day. And we got up to $2,200. He hit on 8 straight days. And on day 9, I bet $2,300 to win almost $5,000. And it was a 10-day to get to $10,000 challenge. So if I won that day 9 one, I would have been, I would have bet the 5,000 and win 10,000. So a little crazy. Maybe some people don't, have the risk tolerance for that, but it was something that I started with $10, so I wasn't crazy invested in. But I thought it was just a really cool thing, and to be a part of a gambling community, people that appreciate that kind of stuff, I thought it was really fun. So shout out to that group. They did great during that challenge. They gained a lot of following, and rightfully so. They do a lot of homework on their picks. They have great content in the sense of where they share their stuff on YouTube and on TikTok, and they give reasons behind their picks. So it was a lot of fun to be a part of that journey and challenge. I'll put those things in the show notes, so that way if anybody is interested in that and wants to follow them, they're actually starting tonight. So if you guys are listening to this on Tuesday, January 24th, he's starting it again tonight, $10. We'll, over the next 10 days, he's going to be putting in picks and parlaying stuff, and he gets right to even money. So he picks 3, 4, 5 things that gets you right to even money and things that should happen. But again, he does homework where it's 17 of 18 games he's done this. 23 of 25 times this has happened, blah, blah, blah. So it's really cool stuff. And again, he gets it to even money so that, $10 tonight, hopefully we get $10 back. So we're going to bet $20 on tomorrow, then 40, 80, 160, all the way up to 10,000. So join that challenge if you guys want. I'll put it in the show notes. But what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about some of the LSU sports, some of the New Orleans Pelicans, things like that. Just odds. I was having fun with it last night, and I thought it would be cool because some people don't know the depths of sports books. DraftKings has been an incredible partner for me, so I stay on their book a lot. And the reason that it's genius on DraftKings. They throw me a little bone and give me some money for these podcasts to sponsor them and things like that, knowing that I'll probably just throw it right back into their sports book and gamble it. But it's great because now I'm almost a gold star member there where I have almost 100,000 DK points. And like I said, even if I'm just watching a game, I'll throw $10 on it just because it makes me financially invested. It makes me watch the game differently. And I really think it takes being a fan to the next level as well. When you have money on the line, it just makes you care about things differently. So that's what I've really enjoyed about sports gambling so far. I think it's really, really important to know your limits, know what you can spend, really gamble with things that with money and funds that you're okay not having tomorrow, because most of the time you're going to lose your money. Let's be real about this. I don't think there's too many people in the world that make a ton of money off sports gambling for a living. That's why it's called gambling. That's why there's so many problems with it and people get addicted to it and things like that. So just make sure that you're being very, very careful about what you're putting into these books, how much you're spending, that kind of stuff. Obviously, DraftKings is always doing promos and things like that. So make sure you pay attention to those, because as you grow with the sports book, they give you a ton of perks within the sports book. So not only do I have all these free bets, or do I have, boosted odds, they give me no sweat bets where if I can, bet $100 that even if I lose, they'll send me back a portion of it. So there's just a bunch of cool things that you can do within the app, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Not necessarily the promotions, because there's a specific one that we're promoting for the football playoffs right now and new users. But I really just want to talk about some LSU sports, players that have come through LSU and maybe their sports teams, and some cool ways to parlay things where you get crazy high odds and you really only need to throw $2 down, $5 down, and you can take maybe 40, 50, $100 that you would put on one game and spread it out, amongst a couple different things that are going to happen in the future. So when I say that, I'm betting on things like futures of things, whether that's a team getting ready to win a championship. For example, Joe Burrow right now is in the playoffs. He's down to the last 4 teams. So their odds aren't crazy high, but he's a plus 265 odds to win the Super Bowl. I love that bet. I've been talking about it. If you guys listen to the show, you've been hearing the ads, you've been hearing me talk about Joe Burrow and how I think he's a winner. So I've just been betting on the Bengals. That's it. And I love Joe Burrow. I do some side stuff with him because I just love Joe. I think the way he embodies, going about winning and his business and things like that are truly special. And I'm an LSU guy, obviously. So I always like to root for him. I throw some money on him every game too, to have his yards and throw some touchdowns or throw to a certain amount of receivers or have a certain amount of completions. But those are all fun things that you can do within the app as well. But today I'm going to talk about that one. So I love that one for Joe. I obviously have some money on that. But if you parlay that with other things, for example, I told you guys I love the plus 1,000 for the LSU women to win the national championship this year. They're number 1 in the country, I think 18-0 as we speak right now or something like that. And I think they have one of the best players in the country. They have some great transfers, and I think they have the best coach in the country, if not the best, one of the best. So I love them at plus 1,000. I have money on just that bet. But if you want to parlay LSU women's basketball with LSU baseball is the number 1 team in the country on every single poll. They have the number 1 recruiting class this year. They had the number 1 transfer class, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think they might have. They're in lead for the top recruiting class for next year as well. So they just have talent. There's a lot of buzz around LSU, but I don't love their odds individually. They're on DraftKings. They have them at plus 500, which they should be. They're the favorite to win, and they're a lot lower than everybody else's. Contextually speaking, last year I think LSU might have been preseason number 1 in a few polls, but they were plus 1,500 or plus 2,500 odds last year where I bet 250 to win 5,000 or something like that for them to win the national championship. But this year, if you bet $100, you only get 500 back. So I don't love those odds right now for them individually, but if you parlay those with the LSU women's to win the national championship right now, and I think maybe might be a smart time to get the odds for LSU women's right now because it might go down if they keep continuing to dominate. There is a slight chance if they lose a game or two that they might not be expected to, that the odds might go higher. And that's actually my advice with LSU baseball. But let me stay here. So if you parlay LSU baseball and LSU women's to win their respective national championships, that's plus 6,500 odds, which means you can bet $100 and you win $65,000. No, yes, $650, which to me is a great $6,500, which is an incredible bet. You have two favorites, or at least in the discussion to be the favorites as national champions. Only two things need to happen. Now, granted, a national championship is very, very rare, but $100, that's, to me, all day, every day, I'm going to throw $100 on those two things that happen right now. But I'm not throwing anything down on LSU at plus 500 right now. That, to me, is way too low of odds preseason to bet on a team. Now, if LSU goes undefeated this year, those odds are going to go down and you won't have a better chance than plus 500 this year. But I'm going to bet that LSU is going to lose some games this year. And if I am a betting man, which I am, what I'm going to do, my strategy, and again, guys, this is not financial advice. I don't tell people to take my picks, but what I am going to do is I'm going to wait for LSU to lose a series or lose some games that they might not, we're not expected to lose. Inevitably, over a 50-something game season, 60 game, however many they play these days, there's going to be a tough stretch, right? And so those odds might go up a little higher than plus 500. You're also probably knowing that some other teams are going to start playing well and getting hot, right? And there might be some chances for them to be like, damn, maybe that's the best team in the country. And so maybe their odds will be lower, right? So I think I'm going to wait for LSU to lose some games, maybe lose a weekend. I'm not rooting for that to happen, but I think it's going to happen at some point this year. And so I'm going to take LSU when they're plus 1,000 or more to win the national championship. Some other ones that are relative, guys. If you want to parlay all three of those things with Joe to win the Super Bowl, now we're getting fun because it's plus $980,000 odds, which means you could just bet $1. If you bet 100, you win $980 million. So that would be kind of fun. But it's not. I don't think too many people are going to bet $100 on that. You bet 10, you win $98 million. You bet $1, you're going to win $9.8 million. So that would be kind of fun. Again, these are things that are just fun to do and just be like, look how fun that, can you imagine that scenario, blah, blah, blah. And it's $1, right? You spend $1 so many different ways in today's world nowadays. So if you're a sports gambler, these are just fun things to do and just bring me joy as a sports gambler, sports fan, all these different things. And some other ones too that are just notable. LSU football to win the national championship next year. Now, obviously the season just ended this year. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen with the transfer portal, coaches switching, conferences changing, all these different things, right? But they are plus 1,800 right now. And as a funny ticket right now, I'm looking at right now, I have LSU national champion. I had all those things. Oh, and let's talk about our LSU basketball team. They started off really hot. They're struggling a little bit right now. But it also might be a good time to bet on them for certain things. If you like their team, if you think they're going to go to the tournament, if you think they're going to go to the Final Four, LSU to get to the Final Four is plus 4,000 odds. So it's not looking good. If you bet $100, you can win 4,000 if they get to the Final Four. Unfortunately, DraftKings is a little limited on the things that you can do. If you think that they're going to win the SEC championship this year, it's plus $100,000 odds, which means you can bet $100 and win $100,000. So that's kind of fun too if you like those odds, but I wouldn't suggest that. But if you want to have some fun and just look at it, what it would be. Let's see what we got here. I don't even know what number this is. 1 trillion. So if you, another fun one that I did too, because I got love from my boy Brad Wing, who is playing in the XFL. So again, former athletes at LSU, that have come through here that are doing things in professional sports. I like to support them. He is playing in the XFL, and his XFL team is plus 550 to win their championship. So that's if you bet $100, you would win $550. That's a cool one to have. I think that just if you want to support Brad, maybe if you guys are watching games, it just puts, again, a little bit more on the game for you to care about it just a little bit more and root for Brad a little bit more, you know? And if we put all 6 of those things together, so LSU winning the national championship in football, them to get to the Final Four in basketball, LSU to win the women's national championship, basketball, LSU baseball to win the national championship, and the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, we are looking at plus 1,219,796,000 odds. Actually, it might be 12 trillion. 12 trillion, 197. DraftKings doesn't put commas, so it's just a bunch of numbers together. So I think it's 12 trillion, 197,961,500 for $1. So you can be a trillionaire. Again, these things are not going to happen, guys. But they are super fun, and it just gives you the tools to go in there and maybe mix and match the things that you actually do think are going to happen. If you think the Kansas Jayhawks are going to win this year, put them in instead of LSU, right? If you think that maybe Texas is going to win the baseball championship there, put them in there. And then you can mess around, you can see the odds. These are the things that you see on the TV when you're like, oh my God, so-and-so bet $7.57 to win $18 million, right? Or $200,000 and all these different things, these crazy stories. Bet $5 to win $37,000. This is how people do it. They bet on the futures or things that are just so crazy unlikely, but small amounts of money spread out a bunch of different ways. And again, it makes betting fun. And if 1 or 2 or 3 of these things hit, the sports books might actually offer you a little cash out. So that means it's almost like Deal or No Deal, where you had all these things that you would open up, right? And you'd have one in your hand, and based on the odds, somebody would offer you a payout. Because if you're holding the big bag, $1 million, and there's not a lot of options for you to win more than that, the odds might say that you're not going to win it, right? So he's going to lowball you. Or if it's very favorable, he's going to give you a nice offer because he doesn't want to pay out $1 million. So the sports books do the same thing. If it looks like you're going to cash this $12 trillion parlay, if 6 of the 7 things hit, they're going to try to offer you some money right then and there. So you don't even have to gamble on some of the other picks. So if 2 or 3 of them hit, you might get a nice $20,000 cash out option. And then I would go ahead and take that because it's probably smart to do because it's going to be really hard for all these things to hit. And that's why the odds are so high again, guys. So if you ever do have an opportunity to cash out, I'm a cash out king. I know that's such a pussy thing. I shouldn't say pussy thing. Such a not, I don't know, what is it? Scared money don't make no money thing. But that's what I do. I like cash outs. I like taking those odds. I like building parlays that might happen and seeing if the sports books will try to get you out of it and stuff like that. But these are the things that I like to do at home. You know, I probably allocate 30 minutes to an hour a day and just sit and do some research on a few picks that I think might hit. And that's my serious sports gambling that I would say I spend, $100 to $150 a night maybe on serious sports gambling and calculate some of these things and actually plan on some of these guys and girls hitting these numbers based on averages and laws of averages and likelihood of these things happening. But these are the ways to kind of have some fun with it, where you can just throw a flyer of $2 up there, $5 up there, $10 up there, whatever is comfortable for you to maybe win 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, and just play around with it, guys. And again, spend money that you're willing to lose, that maybe you're already going to spend later in the day, and you want to reallocate it to something else. Sports gambling is super fun for the fans, but it can be super dangerous too. Like I said, if you get too sucked in and hooked, make sure you just have some accountability there and have some resources in line. There's always hotlines and things like that, and friends and family can definitely help you out with giving you more money and enabling you, but helping you stop or at least put in a system that can kind of facilitate your habits or your personality and that kind of stuff. And sports gambling is always evolving and stuff. So there's always new resources. There's new outlets that give you good picks and odds, but just please do your homework. There's a lot of people that say that the record's great and it's a bunch of bullshit, right? Everything that's happened on the internet can be fake nowadays. So please just do your research, do your homework. Don't just blindly jump into subscriptions and things like that promise you all these winnings and things like that, right? and have fun with it. At the end of the day, sports are meant to be fun. They're supposed to bring people together. They're supposed to connect. And that's what I love about sports gambling. We've built a cool little community here with Cards and Culture. A lot of sports cards kind of, cross the line and blend with gambling. When you open up a $1,000 pack, you're hoping to get a $5,000 card, but you really could get $100 worth of stuff, right? So in a sense, it is gambling here. And that's why, I think we've built a really cool community, and there's a lot of crossover in the people that like to buy boxes and also go to sports events and gamble. So, and players too, right? You like to collect certain players, and then you like to root for them in the games and put some money on it. Maybe you like to double down on your investments in the sports cards. So again, these worlds cross over, and I really, really love that. And that's where, this community that we've built with Cards and Culture has been incredible. And the people that love gambling, thank you guys for jumping on board and staying with us. I think we have some cool stuff for the Super Bowl coming up. Make sure you guys stick around and see what kind of stuff we got going on there. Last year we did a watch party, and we had a Cards and Culture DraftKings pool that you could enter. So I think we're going to do some stuff like that again this year, but make sure you stay tuned. We'll be posting about those leading up to the big game. And again, if you're a subscriber, if you're a listener, if you're watching this, thank you guys. I appreciate your time. If you guys have any questions, just always reach out to me on my DM. Or stop in Cards and Culture if you're in Baton Rouge. I would love to see you guys. Check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those great things. And again, if you guys are here listening, thank y'all. Love y'all. Go Joey B this weekend. Go.